intimidated to announce our next inductee for a couple of reasons. First, from his nomination to the LP Gas Hall of Fame to preparing to tell his story to the industry, we learned about Bruce Swiecicki's clear and concise writing and editing skills. It makes me wonder whether Bruce has a future position at LP Gas Magazine. I just hope it's not mine. The other reason, Bruce is 6'4", and in a few minutes we'll get a little more perspective on what that means for our photo. Let's take it.
Bruce Swiecicki's entry into the propane industry came by way of a want ad in the Chicago Tribune. The National Propane Gas Association sought a leader of technical services, and they found one. Swiecicki's arrival at NPGA has been called a game changer for the National Association and the industry. So began his propane industry career that's lasted more than 30 years. Now, the Vice President of Regulatory and Technical Services at NPGA, Swiecicki, a Chicago native, works to modernize and enhance industry codes and standards for the safe use of propane. But as the industry members who nominated Swiecicki for the Hall of Fame explain, his impact to the propane industry goes far beyond the code text that he writes and edits with such clarity. It's his decades of experience that make him a foundational resource for the industry. Educated in mechanical engineering at the University of Illinois, Swiecicki gained experience writing, editing, and communicating construction codes in his first job after college. It's in his work, both inside and outside the propane industry, extending LPG's reach and earning the respect of others in the codes and standards arena who influence propane code. He contributes to 11 National Fire Protection Association committees and oversees NPGA's work on more than 30 national and international codes and standard-setting bodies. It's also his candor, honesty, and integrity. Bruce quickly gained a reputation as being fair and unbiased, interested in advancing safety above other considerations, convey those who nominated him. They say Swiecicki's reputation has allowed him to work successfully across the aisle with varied groups and interests and drive consensus-based change for propane. During his career, Swiecicki has contributed to notable safety advancements for the industry. Among them, the adoption of two-stage regulation for vapor service, requirements for the overfill prevention device, and internal valves for large containers. And he helped introduce self-service autogas refueling to the International Fire Code and NFPA 58. In working to improve propane's regulatory framework, Swiecicki has shown an ability to adapt his role to the changes taking place in the industry. He's a primary member of a new committee that addresses the safe use of propane in cannabis growing and processing facilities. He's also working to educate others about propane's environmentally safe properties and keep propane viable within the electrification movement.
Hello, everyone, and Brian, thank you very much for those kind words. I don't envision myself taking over your role anytime soon, but I do appreciate that, and it's great to be here again. I've actually been in this position a couple of times before. Some of you have been attending these meetings, these events, the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. Know that I have represented a couple of people in the past, one being Al Linder, a stalwart in the industry and from West Coast, and also one of my predecessors, who was Walt Johnson, who actually held my role from 1956 through 1985. So I think Walt would be proud that I followed up, and he was actually from my area as well. So it's good to be back and speaking to you all. First of all, I want to say thanks a lot to the Bryans Brian and Brian for putting this event on year after year and giving us an opportunity to celebrate one another. And I think that's an awesome thing. The Hall of Fame committee, whoever they are, thank you. Everyone being here tonight and supporting this great industry event is certainly appreciated, and I appreciate that as much as anybody. I do have a couple introductions I'd like to make. First of all, over at my table there. You've already heard from Steve Kaminsky, thank you. Leslie Woodward and Ron Freeman. Really, the reason I think I'm here is because of the work that you guys did to get me here. And there's one other person in the audience, I don't know where he is, but Jerry Meisel. Thank you very much, Jerry. I've also got some special guests that I'm happy to have with me here as well. So my son Jordan is here, and my son Ryan, and his girlfriend Camille, and of course my wife Karen. Karen and I have been going together for over 40 years. We've been official since 1985. So I owe a big debt to Karen because this position that I'm in does require a bit of travel. And over the years, it's not been easy to be away from home. But I say one thing about Karen is that she has never once complained about me being away or about how the kids are behaving or anything like that. And I appreciate that, my dear. You're the love of my life. There is another individual who, my daughter Megan would have loved to have been here. She actually jumped at the chance when I mentioned that this was going to take place. But she did give birth to our first grandson. I think you saw a photo of him. Amber did the presentation. And I know that she would love to be here, but she's got to be home. And it was just about a month and a half ago or so that Nan was born. So she's got her duties, and we certainly understand that. There's a couple of NPGA staffers here. I know I saw Eric Sears and Jessica Johnson. Glad you're here, and I hope you guys will continue to participate in this event. I've been to every one of these presentations, every one of these events since they began, and I've always found them to be fulfilling and really well worth the time and the effort. I want to extend my congrats also to Joe, Rosie, and Randy and Mike. I'm really honored to be in this class with you. I've known you guys for a long time, and it's really quite a treat, I think, to be on the same stage as you all. Usually when I talk to a group like this many people, I have a copy of NFPA 58. And as you know, that's the Bible of the propane industry. So this is kind of strange and different to me. I mean, yes, I've been here before, but I've delivered speeches for other people, so this is kind of a different experience, and looking forward to it. I hope during the course of the presentation that you recognized some of those faces that were in there. I know, Emerson Thomas, I don't know if anybody can claim more of a good in founding the propane industry, particularly NPGA, than Emerson Thomas. Emerson was here in 1931 when the association was founded, and I'll never forget one of the first board meetings that I attended. As you know, an NPGA board meeting consists of a lot of people. And you go around the room and you introduce yourself, and when it got to Emerson, he stood up and people would say their name and their company. He just stood up and said, Emerson Thomas, founder. And it just brought the whole crowd to their feet, and it was just sent a shiver up my spine. When I first joined NPGA was 1993, and I went to interview as Point and I responded to an ad in the Chicago Tribune, and Dan Myers was the CEO then, and I interviewed with Dan, and I must have impressed him. He called me back for another one. And as I'm sitting in the lobby at the old offices in Lyle, this is prior to obviously 2002, I'm sitting there, and in walks this elderly gentleman with a long trench coat on, and I found out later would be his trademark, blue sport coat. And that was Sam Letier. Sam was the treasurer at that point in time, and Dan, who was a lawyer by training, did not, he knew that this role was needed, but he didn't quite know, how to determine who should fill it. So he called in Sam. Sam was an engineer as well, a mechanical engineer. And I interviewed Sam, and he's really the guy that hired me. So we had that in common, and he was a mentor to me through this whole process with the propane industry, because quite honestly, when I joined the propane industry, I had no idea. How can it be a gas, but yet when I pick up a cylinder, there's liquid in there? Okay, so it took me a little bit of time to get used to that concept, and of course, a lot of resources to rely on from my predecessors and people in the industry that helped me along. So we got off to a pretty good start there, and let me just see. Another person I wanted to mention too, as far as mentoring, and these are all Hall of Famers, by the way. Bill McKennedy from Muskegon, Michigan, the ProGas, to me was one of the most relied upon people in terms of reaching consensus. I know Steve mentioned, or the video mentioned, consensus driving. Bill was really a master at that as well. And as well as some of the folks that are sitting at the tables throughout the room. Well, I think I'm getting my cards mixed up, but I'm going to just stray here. I know maybe sometimes that's not a bad thing, sometimes it's a good thing. But the folks that I rely on now in terms of making sure that I'm on the right path, in terms of what we try to accomplish as an association, are very much in this room with me and at my table and spread around this room. So I appreciate everything you all have done to keep me on that path. And there's a couple of things that at least I'd like to point out that maybe some can remember. I've been over 30 years now with NPGA, and I look back and see some of the accomplishments that we've had. Not all of them in the technical area, but a lot of them. Some of the major ones, for example, are 1996 signing passing the PARA legislation to form PERC. And we've got a strong relationship with the PERC organization. I know Tucker's in the room here, heading up that group. And we're going to continue on because we do have our work cut out for us in a lot of areas. NFPA 58 is pretty much, going the way that we hope it would. But there are other areas that need attention, and I know some of, I think maybe touched on a little bit, and we'll spend the time that we need to get to those. We're building up our staff, and we're getting prepared for the energy conservation, the carbon and decarbonization, and along those lines. So we have plans to address those, and I believe we can be successful. We just recently had a big victory in terms of the gas industry, and I don't mean just propane, but natural gas, in terms of the International Energy Conservation Code. We won an appeal, and they took out mandatory electrification provisions. So that's the sort of thing that we need to focus on now, I believe. We've got a strong group that's committed to the traditional codes, 58, and the fuel gas code. And now we need to focus in other areas as well to keep ourselves going. When I first started, I wasn't sure what to expect. It was a smaller association. I came from a larger association, which was the building officials and code administrators. And one of the things that kept being pounded into my head, at least from those that were trying to, impress on me the importance of being a part of this association, that it's the people really that keep it going. And I can think of several instances that the people have come together, competitors and friends, and they've come together and gotten things done, just like I mentioned, the PARA Act, or when we got out of the risk management program for bulk plant facilities. That was a huge one as well. In terms of the technical stuff, I mean, we talked about the two-stage regulation, the overflowing prevention device was a big one in 1998, and that took a long time. It started even before I got in the industry, but there was a lot of talk about how do we address these fires that are occurring grill as well. The OPD came around, and I never thought I'd be called the name that I was, but see, when we submit these proposals, it's always my name on it, to 58. So after the OPD was passed, I was getting calls, and some of them threatening, but one guy called me from New Jersey and said, you know, you are a green, commie, tree-hugging blank. And I just kind of laughed, and I said, well, you read me wrong. But anyway, that's the sort of thing that we're going to deal with sometimes in terms of the public reaction to some of the things we pass. But recently we passed some legal with the fact that 2024 we're going to have auto gas self-service dispensers, and that's something new. I think that goes a long way towards showing the improvisation that we have in terms of the connection that's used. You know, a leak-free connection, one that won't flow gas unless it's positively connected. So these are all advances. I think it's true that as long as we continue to work together as an association, we will be able to accomplish a lot more. And so with that, I just once again want to thank you all and appreciate the honor. Thank you.